Hello and welcome to another episode of Music Ally Focus with me, Music Ally's Managing Editor Joe Sparrow. And in this episode, we're very happy to welcome Idan Dobrecki, the co-founder of Aiode, to the Focus podcast. Aiode is an AI music making platform that emphasizes two key features. Its ethically trained system that shares earnings with the musicians whose music is used to train it, and its virtual collaborator approach. Idan compares the latter to having a talented musician, quote, riding shotgun with you as you're making music, and music producers can call on the skills of the virtual brackets real musicians to augment their songs as they're making them. If you're wondering how that works from a music production perspective, you can hear it working in real time in the podcast because Idan's going to demo the platform for you. And there's more, of course. So we're also going to be talking about the future integration of AI with the music industry as a whole, and to music production in particular. Idan is also going to talk about ethical use of music data and how doing it ethically makes better business sense and better music. And how they have arranged to share money with rights holders and make a better product because of it. Okay, all that coming up in this episode of Music Ally Focus in collaboration with Aiode. So let's go across to Idan right now. All right, so Idan Dobrecki, very happy to have you on the podcast. Let's dive straight in. Perhaps we can just do some introductions and understand what you're doing. Who are you and what do you do at Aiode and what does Aiode do?
Excited to be here as well, Joe. So as you mentioned, my name is Idan Dobrecki, and I'm the CEO of Aiode. Aiode is essentially a platform for the integration of AI and music creation, as I'm going to talk about in a second. My background stems from studying math and physics, and then moving on and also studying law and business administration. So I'm a lawyer by trade, but don't hold that up against me. I love music. I'm a piano player. Have been playing music throughout my life, and I've co-founded Aiode together with my cousin. My cousin's name's Blue. Blue is a music producer and musician, as well as a programmer, a coder that's led a few AI teams. And basically, Blue and I were looking at the music industry, or the music production industry, rather. And as music producers ourselves, we wanted to come up with the best solution for music producers. In our eyes, that ultimate solution for music production is always working with a real musician. Simply putting it, if you have a real musician with you in the recording studio, it's sort of the shortest time from ideation to creation. If Joe's a really talented guitar player, I can just have you listen to the track that I'm working on, and you give me a take in your unique style. It's the highest quality. There's nothing that can match the results of having a real musician with you in the recording studio. And I have another musical mind with me working on the same project. Similarly to if I have two lawyers or architects working in the same house building or contract. But we're thinking the industry is so vast, and it works in a manner where 99% of music producers can actually work with a real musician. Between the pay for the musician's hours of the recording studio and the equipment, and if Joe's based in Berlin and I'm currently in London, the likelihood of us collaborating is basically slim to non-existent. And we're looking to solve these problems, essentially allowing any music creator out there to work with what we envisioned as the ultimate tool to work with a real musician. What we came up with is Aiode. Aiode is named after the muse of songs and voice in Greek mythology. And the idea here was to develop our own ethically trained foundational AI model that will be able to get recordings of musicians playing their instruments and then capturing everything from their unique sound signature all the way down to their micro decision makings as musicians, resulting in the creation of virtual musicians based off of these real musicians that we upload to the Aiode platform and offer for music creators worldwide that can now produce music using our virtual musician. As I've mentioned, the entire platform is ethically trained. So whenever someone uses Joe's virtual version, Aiode allocates a portion of the revenues back in the hands of the real Joe, meaning you can look at it sort of like virtual session hours, where you as a musician, whenever someone uses your virtual version, you get a cut of the proceeds. So yeah, the platform is now live. We've worked very tirelessly to develop our own foundational model and make sure that every single piece of audio that was used to train the model was ethically and legally sourced. So that's essentially us.
And what's reaction been like in terms of, you're aiming this product at, I've used it, anyone can use it, but it's the approach of creating music is a little bit different. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's really about that idea of virtual musicians and giving sort of a granular level of editing or ideation to the user, right? Which is sort of in line with a bit like how they would use a DAW at the moment, right? But different. What's response been like?
It's a good question. So the platform is live, as you mentioned as well, and we have producers using it. And I think the best positive reaction that we've got is that finally producers can have a tool that offers a very granular level of control. So you can instruct the virtual musicians precisely what, where, and how to play. But additionally, I feel like the mimicking or the creation of virtual versions that are based on real musicians is the real essence of the platform. Because I feel like, especially in the creative industry, you don't necessarily want a text prompt to an entire song creation. You want to be in the driver's seat and you want the AI to be at the shotgun seat of being able to instruct what you wanted to play or being able to upload your own music and have the AI give you a compatible take with the music that you're currently working on. So I think that was early on, that was in the vision of both Blue and I. We wanted to create an AI stem generator. So it doesn't just produce the entire song for you, but rather gradually adds additional layers on top of the music that you're already working on. And then we wanted the platform to be very quick in terms of the different iterations you can do with it. So the platform generates music very quickly, and then you can fine tune the result based on your own desire and the vision that you have in mind. Something that we felt is lacking in the current landscape of, I would say, music tech products, much less the AI products.
Let's talk about AI's position in the music industry going forward. And by the music industry, I mean both the production side of music and also the wider industry in terms of how it integrates with current processes. You're a music tech startup. That's a famously complex place to be in. Although normally the big problems are around licensing, and I guess in this instance, that's a very different set of circumstances for you, which is maybe nice to be in and also complex. But what do you think of the role in the future of AI in the music industry as a whole, and how will it integrate when we're talking about fairly fundamental different ways of working?
It's a great question, first of all, because I feel like, honestly speaking, I'm not sure I can foresee what's going to happen within the next 10 years just because the tech is so exponentially growing and evolving that I feel like um, it would be a prophecy best left for smarter people than me. But I can give you my 2 cents on how I would love to see AI evolving within the music industry and music production specifically. I would love for AI to start eliminating the technicalities of music production. So there are so many technical constraints to actually producing a high quality song that make it so that creators, musicians, music producers, and engineers are sometimes um, focusing on the technicalities rather than the creative aspects. Myself as a musician, as a music producer, I'd love to be able to focus only on my creation, the creative aspects of how I create a song, instructing the tech on delivering the vision that I have in mind. So I would say the best case scenario or the optimistic view that I'd love to possess is that AI is going to eliminate everything that I hate about
Right.
the technicalities of either music creation or not just that. If you can have the entire studio set up with mics precisely the way I'd love them to be, well, that just saves me time and I can just start working on the creation itself. So I would love to see AI being integrated, as I've mentioned before, by the way, in the shotgun seat, leaving me at the helms and at the driver's seat so I can navigate the ship in accordance with my vision.
Mhm. What we're going to do now is do a quick demo of the platform, and you at home can hear exactly how it works, and then we'll have a chat about that.
Let's do it. Sure.
Can we hop across to the platform and you can demonstrate it for our listeners and they can hear what's going on?
Yeah, sure, Joe. So quickly, just explaining about the platform. Um, Within Iode's platform, you can either start creating music from scratch with Iode's virtual musicians, or what we're far more excited about is the ability for you as an end user to upload the track that you're currently working on. This can range between just having the vocals all the way down to a 99% ready and produced song where you're just missing that guitar line or bass line, and you can add one of our virtual musicians that will actually, much like a real musician, be able to listen to the song or track that I've just uploaded and automatically extract not just the technical things like the right key and chord progression, but rather things like the feeling of the songs, the harmony of it, the rhythmic, so that the virtual musicians know when to take a step back when the vocalist is now singing, which is what I'm going to demonstrate for you right now.
Okay.
So I'm inside Iode's platform and I've just uploaded the track. Let's first hear that track and then start gradually adding virtual musicians
Okay.
to it. So this is essentially the track that we'll be working on.
All right. Shoot me down with sugar cane, cellophane, and all that's in between. Shoot me down with lethal aim, baby girl, I won't tell a thing.
So as you can see, it's only the vocals essentially. What I'm going to start doing is gradually adding virtual musicians.
Okay.
So right now, I'm moving to Iode's library page that offers a growing list of real musicians that Iode has modeled into their virtual form. Each one of our musicians has their own profile pages. You, as a user, can read about these musicians or even hop onto their Spotify or Apple Music to listen to their live creations. And let's first add a beat maker because I feel like this song is really missing a beat. Let's also add an electric guitar player, an electric bass player, and a trumpet player. Now, once I have all of the virtual musicians in the composition page, I can start directing the Iode's virtual musicians precisely where, what, and how to play. This means I can choose the specific section within the track that I'd like the virtual musicians to generate the track on. I think the best area would be right here. So I'll have the listeners listen to this section of the song.
I better look out.
So this is just the moment where the song changes. I feel like this would be an excellent part of the song to instruct our virtual musicians to start playing. Now I can give the musicians specific instructions, play chords, melodies, solo, all the way down to free meaning I'll leave the part up to the musician's choice. So I trust these musicians. They will give me compatible take to my own song based on their unique interpretation of it, much like a real musician in the recording studio. Additionally, the granular level of control here is that you can decide whether the bass player plays with a pick or without it, what bass he's going to play on, the dynamic value, and so on and so forth. But just for the demonstration, this is what I'm doing now live. I'm just instructing all of the 4 virtual musicians that I've selected to play freely on this part of the song. After I've placed my instructions, I'm pressing the generate button, and behind the scenes, all of Iode's musicians will now generate a compatible take very quickly as well. Iode can generate about 3 minutes of audio in approximately 10 to 15 seconds. That's it. As you can see, though, the takes are completed and ready. Let's hear together what came out of it. So I'm going to press play and listen together.
I better look out. 'Cause you said something, then I said something. Now I have nothing. I just want to love you. 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 Yeah.
So as you can see, very quickly, I was able to get my own virtual band playing in accordance with my instruction, being able to listen to the music that I've uploaded and give me compatible takes with my music, which is, as we've talked about, part of the differentiating factor between Aiode and any other product out there.
All right, thanks for that, Idan. So what I was able to hear by you talking through that was the sort of, well, first of all, it was kind of the impact of saying, well, I uploaded this vocal track and then out comes this music, which works like with it as if it's gone the other way around, like you've extracted the vocals from it. But it sounds integrated from the start. That as a user, how does that make working with Aiode different to other platforms?
I think that was the exact vision that we've had in mind. Whereas you've got products that you can just insert a text prompt and the product take care of everything essentially, just create the song for you. We wanted the AI to be your assistant, you being in control and the AI working for you rather than replacing you. It's sort of the difference between, again, having an AI that helps the creative process or does the entire creative process for you. And that was the vision early on, where we always wanted to create an AI model that creates an STEM-based level. So it gradually adds additional components to the song that you're working on. And as you begin live, the granular level of control is such that you can define everything that the musicians play, ranging from the level of complexity or the feels, what type of chords they're going to play. It doesn't just generate, I would say, uncontrollable music. With Iode's product, you can fine tune the way that the virtual musicians work based on your vision, your desire. You can instruct them specifically where, what, and how to play. And I feel like that played a major part in the development roadmap for Iode's product.
How have you found that people are using it? So, I mean, obviously, from your experience and your internal testing, and also external users using it, are they using it to sketch out ideas? Are they using it to sort of, will they put something in there, maybe some vocals or something, and then iterate different tracks of ideas around it, and then sample part of that? Or like, how are they using it?
It's been very interesting to see the user's reaction. So it ranges. It ranges from singer songwriters who have little to no music production experience, and they can now upload the track of them just singing and have the entire sort of virtual band by these virtual musicians give them a compatible take that essentially produces the song together with them based on
Yeah.
them singing. All the way down to Grammy Award winning producers that we're currently working with, that are very well versed within the music production space, but they want to be able to produce whatever they want within their DAW of choice, and then export those stems or files to Aiode and add or gradually add additional layers with our virtual musicians. This was, again, something we thought of early on. We don't want to educate an entire market. We want you as a music producer to certainly be able to still use the product and tech that you love to use, be it between the VST plugins or the DAW that you're used to working on. And then Aiode is just another sort of, I would say, AI product tool that integrates with your existing workflow. So you can export the files that you work on, have them, or have Iode's virtual musicians rather listen to the track that you created, and then export that back to your DAW. Continue editing it.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. This workflow part, is what interests me particularly, because if you think about what the industry needs, right? So if we think from the commercial end, someone's releasing a song, and particularly now, they want to release edits, they want to release alternate mixes, they want to release, they might want to release multiple genre versions of that to put on social media to try and fulfill different groups of people's attention, and get them to do something with it. So I can sort of see how that might be part of the process as well, with remixing and alternate takes and things like that. Is this something that you foresee being used for,
Yeah,
this kind of multiple version approach for things?
100%. You've actually touched a very interesting point. So since we've launched the product, we've actually received some inbound from like labels and music companies interested in Iode's tech being used for reinvention of existing songs from their catalog. So
Right.
because Iode's tech works on a stem level, imagine you can take any song that has already been produced and then replacing some of the stems. If you think about it, the core essence of songs is the composition itself. If I leave the integrity of the composition by choosing the exact stems that I want to leave, but then reinventing the other ones, I can essentially replace the genres of songs. I can recreate variations of existing songs that we all love, just based off of the newly generated takes from different stems. So I can change the bass line, I can change the beat line, and so on and so forth. So we've actually touched a really interesting point that we recently received interest about.
Right. Interesting. And could that even extend as far as saying, I'm not going to pin you down to this, but I'm interested in the hypotheticals of what the technology can do, in terms of, could someone, let's say a label, contact you and say, okay, I've got this artist XYZ. Let's say it's the Beatles, right? We have the Beatles catalog here, and we want to create alternate versions of the Beatles songs. I'm sure that they do not want to do that, but just
Yeah, that might be a
hypothetically,
customer.
right? Okay, hypothetically. And so could you then, for instance, you get the tracks, the stems of what they've got. Could you then create virtual John, Paul, George, and Ringo in your platform, and then get sort of so versions of songs we know or people know that are sort of replayed in the style of and the sound of the original artist as well.
So the rather the tech itself is very much capable of doing that.
Yeah,
From two different angles, by the way. We can either sort of, I would say, revive or create virtual versions of either the deep musicians or even, God forbid, live musicians.
yeah.
Obviously, with their consent, that's a big part of the entire ecosystem that we're trying to build. We're not going against musicians. Every single musician that was onboarded to the platform as we speak has done so consensually, and he also shares the profit of it. But to your
Mm.
question, we can either do that, or like the Beatles example, or Jimi Hendrix with the
Yeah.
virtual versions of Jimi or the Beatle band, all the way down to taking existing songs owned by, I would say, big labels, and then reinventing those existing songs by replacing or changing part of the stems that are found in the originals. I'm sure, much like myself, the entire music industry is an artistic community. We don't want to hurt or damage the integrity of the songs that we all love. So I would say these aspects or parts of the technology has to be taken care of in the most, or I would say utmost respect to the original composition, and make sure that if we change anything, we do so in a manner that still encompasses the original band, the artists, and the like. And that's a big part of the vision that we had establishing already from the get go.
It's one of those interesting things, isn't it? Because obviously, when you talk about it in terms of big established, super famous artist names that we know, the temptation is always to say something. Well, I'd love to hear Jimi Hendrix playing on A Day in the Life by the Beatles, right? But you never know if that's going to be any good or not. But what is quite exciting is that there is the opportunity to find that out to an extent now, but also on a smaller level where taking it back down to the individual creators that you're aiming at, that ability to sort of explore options that they perhaps haven't had is going to be quite liberating. And I guess is the idea is your hope that with this technology, it's going to create more better music, so that the sort of if you think about, again, just to remove ourselves from the arena of the Beatles down to people who are producing music in their bedrooms at the moment, amateurs or semi-professionals, professionals, is the idea that this might sort of allow them to, is it produce good music quicker? Is it to make more good music? Is it about raising that sort of baseline level of competence? And like, what's the can you boil it down to something like that, where you sort of identify the friction that you're removing?
Sure. First of all, I think the biggest concern, uh, sort of revolving around the entire AI topic, is whether or not music creation is going to become either stagnant or very, I would say,
Mm,
generic.
mm,
And I feel like that's the exact opposite approach of what we start, or at least hope to achieve with Aiode. In a world where 99% of music producers can actually afford or have the means to work with a real musician, when you're talking about the 16-year-old kid currently learning how to produce music in a DAW and using the plugins that he has, suddenly the ability for that 16-year-old to be able to use the sounds from very talented musicians worldwide, and not only that,
mm,
but be able to extract or instruct rather those specific musicians where, what, and how to play, to still be able to give them the vision that he has in mind, opens an entire new avenue for artistic possibilities. And I think, again, Aiode was established by a group of musicians and music producers. We thought of the ultimate solution for us as music creators. And we certainly hope that this would open an entire new avenue of possibilities for not just for music creators, but in a world where two-thirds of musicians can make ends meet. Because at these day and times, a lot of the music produced now isn't even or doesn't even involve real musicians, but rather is done entirely in a digital form using digital instruments. we'd like or certainly love to derive that portion of the industry back to the pocket of the musicians themselves. So Aiode was sort of our vision to create an ecosystem that incentivizes all parties where the musicians model their virtual versions and they can monetize off of them. We derive additional income to the hands of the musicians themselves rather than having some virtual instrument making that portion of the income and giving music producers on the other hand a superior tech that again opens an entire new I would say world of music possibilities that they would have never be able to get exposed to otherwise.
So that's the sort of the the side where we're talking about creativity and the how it has this liberating effect on making new music and trying new things. And the thing you keep coming back to is the ethical approach, which because well, this is core to what you're doing, right? Which is how that works. Okay, but can you sort of explain why this was so important to you, this clear ethical approach, and then how you've actually implemented it? So, like you're saying that you've got models trained on real people who are real musicians. So, how does that work with them?
Yeah, again, good question. I think like it was super clear from the get go for both Blue and I when we co-founded Aiode that it's going to be ethically trained, and the reason being is that we just asked ourselves, would we ever use a product, an AI product that's not ethically trained? And the answer was a clear cut no for us. Just because we'd like to respect the rights holders, we'd love to respect the musicians and the creators that have worked so hard on creating the music that some companies in the field just feel that they have the right to train their models, even though they didn't get the appropriate licensing or they done so unethically or illegally. And we were thinking, well, it doesn't only make sense from an ethical standpoint, it also makes sense on a business and marketing standpoint. I mean, we as the ultimate end users wouldn't have used a product that unethically trained or illegally sourced. So we're thinking, well, everything that just matches, right? We want to create the best AI STEM generating model out there. And we're thinking, how can we get the data? Well, if we work with real musicians and if we truly incorporate them into the modeling process, ranging from us talking with the musicians, the way that Aiode's product currently works is that musicians approach us to model their virtual versions, and we take them on a long journey of starting to talk with them about how they envision their virtual version, what type of genres the virtual version being associated with, what traits would they like their virtual version to have? Do they want to place any restrictions on the usage of their virtual version? Would they like their names associated with that virtual version, or would they like to stay anonymous? So the musicians are an integral part of the I would say modeling process. Obviously, also sharing the revenues down the road, but that made it so that we, as the music producers and as the end users, feel very safe to use the product because we know the musicians are remunerated for it. We know that the data was given to Aiode consensually and with again the appropriate licensing and the consent of the musicians. And then from a business standpoint, that means that each new musician that gets modeled into Aiode's platform legally and ethically enlarges our data set. So we can improve our models. We can give the end users better tech. And the way we do that is by siloing the models to be trained on the specific data consensually given to us by each specific musician. So we have a lot of sort of or rather safeguards that we put in place to make sure that the data is always siloed and always connected to a specific musician when we train the virtual versions.
Does that mean you mentioned something interesting earlier, which is one of the concerns I think shared by a lot of people, which is the sort of smoothing out of music. If you use a platform which is a simple text to music generating AI generation platform for music, you you know that it's very hard to get. I mean, probably not impossible, but on average, the songs come out sounding average, right? Because they are. That's how that system works. It aims at the middle. It is drawing music in from everywhere. Allegedly, it's doing all these things, and you get a product coming out that sounds believable. It sounds okay, but would you go home and choose to put it on and listen to. I'm not sure. And I feel like what you're trying to do here is the opposite of that, which is to create music that you intentionally, as a listener, would want to go and listen to, right? But does that mean that then, if you're ingesting, um, you're training your platform on musicians' work, how does that affect then the actual, like, the flavor, the music itself that comes out? Because you've got, am I wrong in thinking you have a sort of, if you like, a more focused set of data to pull from? What's the impact of that?
So let's break it down for a second. I think in the basis of the claim that AI sort of creates generic music, I would say, in lack of a better term for it,
Mm,
uh, is what we've tried to, again, break and then reassemble.
yeah.
What I mean by that is if I were to tell you, listen, Joe, um, an actual human being, a music producer, is going to produce a song, you'd probably you won't have these concerns because you know a human hand is involved in the creation process. So much like the music that we got accustomed to hearing in the past 100 years, that was all produced by human beings. We never thought of human beings creating music that sounds generic or very stagnant. It always keeps evolving. We create new genres, new rhythms of songs. It's always intriguing for us. The way Iode's product works is that we leave the human element in the production process alive. We continue to leave that ember sparking. What I mean by that is that you, the music producer, the creator, you're still in the driver's seat, as I always say. You direct the session in accordance with your vision and desire. You tell the
Mm,
virtual musicians what to play and where. You instruct them down to the specific notes and keys that you'd like them to play in. Meaning, instead of leaving everything up to, I would say, the AI to choose from, which is the exact basis of our concerns for AI generated music to sound very generic,
mm.
we leave the decision making, I would say, in the hands of the human music creator. So that's why I feel much more comfortable saying that music produced with Iode's tool is not going to sound very generic. It's going to sound like real music because it mimics the workflow of having a real musician with you in your recording studio.
And what about, as well, um, you've founded the platform on this ethical footing, where you're saying we're only training from people who we have a deal with, and they're associated with it in the way they want, and they have, which, I mean, it sounds like, something which musicians can probably, more eager to get on board with, as a starting point. How does that how does that sort of how does that ethical footing have an impact on the bottom line? Like, you're now building, um, frameworks where you share potential royalties. You have a feedback loop with how stuff is, people's music or their style is used. So, do, how does that affect how you make money? I mean, or does it actually make you make more money because of that?
So obviously we as a company make less money because we share the profits with the musicians that we work with. But ultimately, I feel like that's the wrong way to look at it. I think the revenue sharing between us and the musicians that we work with is the basis for the entire company's establishment. I think without it, we have no rights of existence. And I'll tell you this,
Mm,
not every single musician in the world would want to model their virtual version. We're perfectly fine with that. We get it. It it's very novel. It's innovative. It involves AI as well, and we get the concerns. We share them to some extent. I mean, we're musicians ourselves. We understand what the concerns are coming from. But I can tell you, we have hundreds of musicians currently waiting for us to model their virtual
right.
versions. I feel like IoT's been established almost 3 years ago now, and throughout these 3 years of development, we've met more and more musicians that have changed their tone of voice. So starting from being very worried and concerned with something that involves AI, all the way down to having musician advocates that have worked with us and that have modeled their virtual versions and are now speaking very highly and positively about the tech, about the entire modeling process. I already currently can't keep up with the demand of real musicians wanting us to model their virtual versions because think of it again, in a world where two-thirds of musicians can make ends meet, you have a essentially a virtual version that works for you. Instead of taking the gigs that pay the most, you can now take the gigs that you'd like to take artistically speaking. You as a musicians are being exposed to new market As we've mentioned before, if you're based in Spain and you want to be exposed to the Japanese market, the likelihood of you getting exposed in the traditional sense of the word is very hard. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to get exposed to new markets. And suddenly, we've had musicians that uh, got called up to real gigs because someone has used their virtual version. And we're very proud of that. As I've mentioned in the demo, every single one of our musicians have their own profile pages. You can read about them. We'll also in the future offer the ability to purchase a ticket to their upcoming concert. So reverting back to what I started with, I completely understand why there are concerns evolving around AI, but we're here to try and convince you that if done properly, if you work with the musicians as the beacon of light that you always want to aspire to help and be on their side, I feel like we can really make a difference in showcasing that AI is not just a replacement tool, I would say, but rather a creative tool that you can use to enhance your creativity.
And that's, I mean, that again is something which I think in terms of how this is accepted by people, both musicians and listeners, I think that is core to it, isn't it? People have an increased sense of fairness, and they want to understand that things are working the way they believe should be right, and that is, it is going to affect how, not just the quality of the music that comes out, but how people receive it as well, isn't it? There's something else there other than just the music itself. Like you said, you have now been going for 3 years, which in AI terms is quite a long time.
No, it is.
Uh, and you've seen a lot change. I want to just look ahead a little bit. I know you said you don't want to make any sort of predictions for the future, so I'm not going to hold you to any of this. But you must have seen a lot of change in the last 3 years. I mean, you said there, you've seen the difference in people's opinions on AI, and change a lot. And you've seen this. You must have seen the pace of technological change happen very fast. Well, first of all, let me ask you this before I ask you about the future. How is that then? You're operating in an environment where it seems like every day there are quite fundamental advances in AI technology and the output that it generates. So, what's it like building a platform on a wave that keeps changing?
It's difficult, first of all. Like talking from a business standpoint, you always have to be at the forefront of ingenuity. You always have to try to be able to foresee the next curve and try to be one step ahead of it. Is you want to be able to offer something that the market isn't yet offering. And I feel like if you put enough thought into it and building an ecosystem or a product that that encompasses everything from, again, the artists themselves to the end users to the tech and the data sets. If you do everything very thoughtfully, I think you can establish a business that is advanced enough so that the rapid changes that are happening within the industry won't necessarily affect your own business to an extent that would make it redundant. And I
Mm.
feel like that's what we've been able to accomplish within IoT's sort of new ecosystem. And talking about the rapid changes in the industry, I feel like that's a very valid point. I think like the more we progress, the more we'll see innovative AI products out there. As I've said before, I can foresee what the future entails. But I will say, I think we're not that far off from a future where AI is going to make it so that every artist around the world can create their own solution. So imagine a world where you can just use the AI to give you the perfect solutions for your specific use case, be it from a creative standpoint, you're missing that unique sound that you'd like access to. I really hope that we see more companies doing this ethically, but more and more companies um, deriving additional ingenuity and additional innovative products within or to the music production industry.
And when you think about Iode specifically, I mean, obviously, success for Iode is for the business to be successful in a very fundamental way, that you're making money and you're able to develop and do more research and develop the company. But beyond sort of the money element, what does success look like for the project Iode? Like, what if you've talked about this original concept and idea of why you wanted to found it and how you wanted to do it and do it right by the way you saw it. So if you zoom forward a bit, what will be happening that shows you that original vision has been a success?
A question.
Mm,
I'll tell you one thing. I have a 1.5-year-old at home. I envision a world where my son, in the comforts of his pajamas from home, can pick up his guitar and learn how to play music, not with pre-existing set-in-time playbacks, but rather by playing with virtual musicians, the
mm,
favorite musicians that he likes from around the world, with a band that accompanies him while playing. So that's the new and iterative way for him to learn how to play music. I imagine a world where every single musician in the world can model their his own virtual versions so they can learn about the way that they are playing, all while deriving additional income and a new revenue stream for these musicians that isn't currently given to them, but rather to, I would say, digital products that doesn't even have a human interference or a human hand involved within the process. So I imagine a grand vision of a new ecosystem where every single one of the musicians worldwide can upload their virtual versions to the platform. Every single music creator can work with the best musicians for her own project at any given time, anywhere across the world at a fraction of the time and cost they're currently spending on the technicalities of music production. So that's my vision for IoT.
and that's really fascinating, isn't it? Which is, we talk about the music industry, but really we're talking about, maybe two or three different ways of deriving revenue from music. And actually, you're suggesting that, and this is the exciting part, that it's just a whole new pie over there. We're not, we're there's, like you say, the ways that we use music in the world at the moment could be changed drastically with the use of these AI tools that allow that kind of personalized or individualized on the artist side input. And music as a totally different product, I guess, to what we're experiencing today. Yeah, how do you mean the pace of change is so fast? Again, I'm not going to nail you down, but we're all excited by the pace of change. I mean, like, at what point can I? Well, do you think I might be able to sit at home and sort of play along in an interactive way with my favorite guitarist or something like that?
I can tell you we're not that far off from it. I wouldn't say about a particular guitar player because, again, we'd like to get the consent of that guitar
Yeah.
player specifically. But talking about I would say a random guitar player or the virtual version of a guitar player, I can tell you Aiode is very close to offering that capability. And I would say with the exponential growth of the tech, that's the number one reason why I try to never give any assumptions as to
Yeah.
what the future entails is because the tech is evolving at such a high pace that I feel like even being at the forefront of the tech itself, I can't foresee where it's heading within like 10 years time. I might be able to do so for the next 2-3 years. Or seeing 10 years into the future, the tech is evolving faster than I can think. And it's certainly smarter than what we are. And that's the reason why I feel like the future is very exciting. And I feel like a lot of the people within the creative industry should fear less and be more excited about what's about to come because it's great. I feel like it'll only open new artistic possibilities for us all.
Exciting stuff. One final question then, which I ask everybody, which is music specific, and you are a musician. If you could only listen to one piece of music or one album, let's say, for the rest of your life, what would it be? Yeah.
So it might have been your topic question throughout the podcast. Um, that's a really good question. I'm a Bach fan, so
Right.
I come from classical music background. So I guess if you could give me an endless stream of new Bach creation, that would probably be my number one go-to choice. That's
Sounds like a job for you to train your AI on, so you can have
yeah.
unlimited
I
Bach.
might have to if we
Yeah.
get the proper licensing, then I
There
might
you
have.
go. Get the licensing. Take that with you forever. Okay, good answer. Thank you very much. Okay, so I will put some links to Aiode and the various things you just mentioned, and people can go and check them out and investigate the AI musicians and the platform for themselves. But for now, Idan Dobrecki, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was a pleasure.
Okay, that's it. Thanks again to Idan from Aiode, and we'll put links to everything he mentioned below the podcast, and you can check it out and have a go with it yourself. If you found that chat useful, please share the podcast on with someone else who you think will get something out of it. And if you want to get in touch with me, I would, of course, love to hear from you. You can email me on Joe, at musically.com. We've also got a free weekly email called The Knowledge, which rounds up bits and pieces of the best analysis, news, marketing insight, and skills from across Music Ally's wide array of resources. So sign up and impress your friends. Links are in the description below the podcast as well. And that's it. Thanks for listening. I've been Joe Sparrow. You've been you. This has been Music Ally Focus. And until next time, farewell.